Today I'm going to talk a little bit about roosters and when your rooster is really into your hens and not really into you, is there a way that you can improve your relationship with him? My name is Bree Wizard. I run the website thefeatherbrain.com and I'm making this video for Lucinda, who asked me this question. I deliberately got a friendly Frizzle Roo who was great with me indoors, but when I put him in the coop with my hens, he wanted nothing to do with me. The lady I got him from said I should push it, and so I'd catch him, and he hated it and me. I suppose it's too late for us, right? Great question, Lucinda. And first of all, it is never too late to work on your relationship with your rooster. And in this case, you can improve your relationship with him, but the truth is that he might never be as cuddly as you want. And that's not because you've ruined him. That's just because some roosters take their role as caretaker of the hens so seriously. They're just so into it that they're never going to be as into you again. I've actually experienced something just like this. I had a rooster named Champ. I rescued him. He was abandoned in the wilderness and I picked him up, and he just was so sweet after I got to know him a bit. He started out terrified, but he came around, and I just love this rooster. He actually passed away very recently, which is so sad, but he was just enamored with me initially, and he'd follow me everywhere. He was always tidbitting for me. Whatever he was doing, he was always inviting me over with tidbitting sounds. So he'd be there doing a little dust bath and inviting me in with his little tidbitting sounds at the dirt, and he was just the sweetest thing. And he'd even let me pick him up. He didn't really like being touched, but he let me pick him up. He really trusted me. He didn't let anyone near him, and we just had this really great bond. And then I bought him some hens. And Champ, he didn't turn aggressive or anything like that, but he just didn't want anything to do with me after that. It was like I wasn't there. He would still let me pick him up if I needed to do a health check. He still trusted me and all that, but he just wasn't into me anymore. He just had these ladies, and it didn't matter if I was there or not. And I did really hope that once he got older, I'd be able to kind of turn him into a snuggle chicken. And I'm not sure if I would have been able to do that or not. As I said, he passed away very recently in a really gruesome matter. And so I don't really want to talk about it, but I think I will do a video on that just as a cautionary tale so that maybe something similar doesn't happen to somebody else. But it is possible that as your rooster gets older, that you will be able to have a closer relationship with him simply because he's maturing. And roosters, their hormone levels are the highest in their first year, and it kind of goes down each year. And so he's always going to care about those hens, and he's always going to have a loving relationship with him, but he may be more open to spending more time on your lap as well. But there are a couple things you can do in the meantime, and the first one I definitely suggest you do. The second one is more, if you have the time and motivation to do it, then go ahead and do it. But if you don't, that's fine too. The first one is simple. Just start spending some time out with your flock. And maybe you're already doing that, but what you want to do is just sit with them, just spend time with them, interact with them. You can even have some food in your hand that you can offer them. Even just plain chicken feed will do. You don't even have to give them special treats. But just sit down and just let your hens come up to you. And if your hens aren't comfortable being close to you right now, the more time you spend out there with them, the more comfortable they're going to be. And if you spend a lot of time with them, they will eventually start approaching you, and they'll be happy to eat out of your hands. And just by doing that, and by not forcing your rooster to interact with you, because you said that you pushed it with him a bit, you maybe picked him up when he didn't want to be picked up, and you do need to repair that. And the best way to repair that is simply by respecting his boundaries and by showing him that you do respect his boundaries. So don't force him to come up to you. Don't pick him up when he doesn't want to be picked up. Don't try to pet him if he doesn't want to be pet. Just be present. Just be out there and let him approach you on his own when he's ready to do that. And he will likely come closer and closer and spend more and more time around you if the hens are doing the same. And just these really simple, respectful interactions with him are going to go a long way to repair that relationship. He might even start crawling onto your lap again. You said that he was sweet and snuggly before, and so if that's in his nature, he might return to that. But either way, you're going to have a much better relationship with him just by not forcing him to do things that he doesn't want to do. and by respecting his boundaries. If you don't have one of these just little ground level chairs like this one that I use, I suggest that you get one. They're so handy and they're pretty comfortable. It's just a great way to sit out there with your chickens and be comfortable, not worry about sitting on poop and all that stuff. So I'll link to this below. You can get these for a pretty low price in most places, but I suggest you get something like that so it's just easy to spend that time with them. And then the second approach you can take, and I'm not sure how well this would work for you. A lot of times with these kind of approaches, you have to kind of trial and error with them to see what works right. But if you are really interested in getting that cuddly relationship back, you could work on kind of training him with some dog training techniques. So to do that, the problem is you need to separate him from the hens. So if you wanted to do this, my suggestion is that first thing in the morning before you let them out of the coop, you just pick up your rooster, take him out of the coop, and leave the hens in the coop. And he might scream bloody murder at first. You can either put him down right away as soon as you get him out so that you are, I guess, holding him against his will as short a time as possible. Or you, sorry, I've got Hooter, my bird, in here. Let me show you. She is recovering from her eye surgery and she's foraging in this hay. So she's in this tent in my office and she's kicking it up, and I just have allergies to bedding, so it's making me cough. So sorry about that. There might be some more coughing in this video. But you could separate him like that, put him down as quickly as possible, or you could take this other approach where you wait for him to stop screaming and stop struggling. And then when he does, you give him a little treat and then you set him down. And that tells him basically that when he isn't screaming and struggling, he gets rewarded, and then he starts associating being held with those good feelings, the type of feelings he gets from a treat. So you could try that too if you wanted to, but once you get him on the ground, I would work with just some food in my hand and have him approach you on his own. Just give him some time to approach you and eat some of that food. It could be chicken feed, especially if he's hungry first thing in the morning. You can use treats too, like mealworms, but you just don't want to go overboard with that. It's really easy to give your chickens too many treats. And if you're doing this with your rooster every day, that might end up being a bit much. So just chicken feed in your hand could work, or something he likes, scrambled egg or hard-boiled egg. Just give him a little bite here and there. That can work. But he'll start coming closer to you to eat that, and then you can kind of work on coaxing him into your lap with that food, or letting him pet you. If he jumps when you lift your hand up at him, then just let him jump, but then just keep kind of lifting your hand. Don't reach out for him yet, because if he's jumping just from the lift, then you don't want to go much faster than that. And once he finally stops jumping, when you lift your hand, you give him that bite of the treat again. And you just do these really, really, really slow baby steps until he is kind of doing what you want him to do. And he's doing it voluntarily on his own because he's becoming habituated to your movements and what you're asking of him, and because he's getting rewarded for it. So he's starting to get good feelings around doing the things that you want him to do. And yeah, you can really, this is how I train aggressive roosters. I mean, it's different because they start out fighting you, so there's some other steps and everything, but I just do these little baby steps with treats, and you can kind of train your chickens to do whatever you want when you do this. The one thing that you might have problems with is that with his hens in the coop, he might be kind of upset about that, and he might be very distracted. And so I would suggest doing this for maybe a week to hopefully see if he gets less distracted in the morning. He might just be too young for this kind of thing too, if he's just too into the hens, but that's something you can at least try to repair your relationship and get him to actually want to snuggle with you again. That might be too much time for you. It might not sound like fun for you, so don't do it if you don't want to, but just doing that for 10 minutes a day could really go a long way. And I do just want to warn you that that kind of process can take a long time. It might take weeks for him to warm up and get to the place you want him to. It might take months. It could happen quickly. It might happen in a couple of days. It always depends on the individual. But if you don't do that, just sit with your flock 10 minutes a day and just get him to understand that you're not going to pick him up and do things to him against his will anymore. And that really will go a long way in getting him to at least trust you again. And then hopefully as he gets older, he gets snugglier. And this happens with hens too. I found as my hens age, they tend to get more and more snuggly and more calm. So hopefully you have that to look forward to with your rooster. And if not, I guess just appreciate him, just appreciate having him there. And you can always try to take that more active approach if you really want him to cuddle. I hope this has been helpful, Lucinda. Happy chickening.